We have the infamous LPC gang in studio today, long last. Thank you guys for responding. I cannot help but laugh that we sent out a calendar invite to your emails and the buddies didn't see the calendar request and we're still WhatsApping what time and are we on today. That was fucking hilarious. This is the first interaction we had downstairs. Thank you for being true to form. Nick, Pete, thanks for coming through today. I'm keen to unpack a little bit of both your personal stories, how you came to enjoying throwing your bikes at millions of watts up and down the Atlantic Seaboard. And then if we can get to the big ones, LPC, your World Tour contracts, signing capabilities.
Some of that's on proper NDA, basis. We'll see if we can uncover.
Get that voice note. We really want the voice note, one way or another. So guys, thanks for coming through. Nick, maybe we start with you, a brief background, how you became such a great time trial specialist.
Jeez. Maybe the hand do quantify anything that's a time trial specialist, but all of my time trial prowess comes from chasing the start of the LPC. So it would have been about 2008, 9. When did you move down from?
No, 20. You talking 2012, 2013.
2012, 2013. So maybe, slightly prior to that, I'd just come back from Australia. I was the editor of Australian Mountain Bike magazine for a couple of years and came back, studied here and kind of got back into riding. And then Pete moved down from Joburg, sort of a couple of mates coalesced around this, early morning riding group from a place, an old restaurant, one of the oldest restaurants in Cape Town called La Perla, which is opposite the Sea Point swimming pool. And I'm quite notoriously late for everything and slightly disorganized.
We're early today.
And I was early today, but only because I got the timing wrong. I actually thought we were meeting at 10:30, which means I was 5 minutes late. As it turns out, we're meeting at 11.
Noted for future.
Yeah. So, if you want to hack the system, that's a very easy one to do. Just send me a separate one that's half an hour earlier. I'll be on time. But I used to, we'd all meet for this ride. It was a motley crew of guys, all sort of quite keen triathletes and, doing the sort of local road series and stuff. And we'd use a Tuesday sort of tempo ride as one of the sort of main parts, I guess, of our sort of training program, if there was such a thing. I remember my polar heart rate monitor straps and watch and just getting my heart rate, and I'd just keep an eye on my heart rate. I don't even think I had a Garmin. And then, because I was late, I would chase for and it would just be a game of when I'd catch these guys. Would it be, Clifton? Would it be, Full Apostles? Would it be, halfway up Llandudno or descending down Suikerbosch? Usually I was sort of, I'd get them there because they'd either slow down or I'd just, have to, chase hard. When you're riding against Pete, we had another good friend of ours, Ross McKeown, whose name was the Hammer. He was an incredibly strong triathlete and just built like a time trialist. And when he had a, aggressive morning, there was just, it was pain all the way. Those little intensity, moments of intensity in racing was really the kind of like backbone of a lot of the training that I certainly did for a lot of the Cape Epics. I've done 12 Cape Epics now. I've done, I think similar amount of DCs, things like that.
I think you threw in there were some top 20s in those Cape Epics. Results that you don't just glance over. Attributed to Tuesday chase.
It was 100% the fine tuning from being late for everything. Yeah.
On that note about Nick being late for the LPC ride, one of our hard and fast rules of the LPC from day one was the ride leaves on time. So 5:45 and 5:46, if you arrive there, you're not going to expect anyone there. You can send a message to say I'm a little bit late. All that means is you're gonna chase for however late you were, but the ride leaves when the ride leaves.
And Pete, your background, how did you come to love your bike so much? I think I overheard you saying something about a UTCT run as well. So
Yeah. So I'm above a cyclist and a runner. I'm a tennis player. I've always been a tennis player. I played semi-professionally. I was on a scholarship. I was on a scholarship in the US at college, and then spent about another 4 years traveling the world in the slums of pro tennis, and then got back and started coaching, and I'd never ridden my bike except as a lightie to my tennis lessons and to my girlfriend's house. And then I was coaching in Pretoria, and my one fitness trainer at the academy said, "Hey, let's do 94.7." And I was like, I don't have a bike, but I'm keen. And I entered on the last day that you could, and I went to Fritz Pienaar and I bought my first mountain bike. And that was 2003. And I started riding, and then did it okay, 94.7 a month later, and then realized I'm almost as fast as these guys, but I'm on a mountain bike. And then you get a road bike, and here we are.
can you remember what that 947 time was, out of interest?
3:15.
A mountain bike, probably with the worst gearing imaginable, and not.
It was a GT Avalanche with, I don't even know what gearing you had, 10 speed at that time, or I don't know, 10 gear, I don't know.
Seated at the back of the universe.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was good. And then
Love it first ride?
yeah, I loved it. And again, I think it was in a month or two later, I got a road bike to go along with it. Started doing some mountain biking there, those Sabi Classics and Barberton races, and always the lower distance. Couldn't think about the 75k marathon distance the Oaks were doing. Anyway, but I moved to Cape Town in 2011, and
Still coaching?
coaching tennis. I still do. It's all I've ever done. And but now a proper cyclist. I was riding every day in Joburg at 4:30, the Engen Classic and Vets Road Racing, all the panorama tours, and
Engine to engine's no joke, eh? There's some
I don't
spice.
know. It's a very hard ride. Yeah, sitting at 6:10 in the morning, having your coffees after a 45k TT bleeding through the eyes. It's ridiculous.
It's definitely something every Cape Townian should experience, because they've got no.
One in that
No.
good experience or shattering. I was, I think I still have PTSD from the traffic life experience, and this was pre kind of KOTAS Joburg as well. This was in the sort of early 2010 maybe, and I was like, no, I think I'll take my chances on a downhill bike.
Maybe color in what you mean to the robots for people that haven't done it.
So yeah, I mean, I was sort of invited. You've got to have this experience. You've got to, have this experience of doing the Engen to Engen. I didn't know E2E. Yeah, I honestly didn't know anyone other than I can't remember who invited me. Anyway, I would pitch up, and it was from the moment the Oaks roll, it was just intense and redlining the whole way. And then I'm sort of feathering brakes at traffic lights, and just on the off chance that someone in a vehicle might.
As a normal human being.
Yeah, this is the most, like I wouldn't even consider myself particularly cautious.
You lost 20 places.
I just don't understand why motorists don't like cyclists.
Well, I mean, it was 5 a.m. or whatever it was. It weren't that many, but there was, even so, I was still kind of just making sure I was
Pretty wild ride. You got to do it. So, people, you staying out that side? That was your.
Yeah. I was in Sunning Hill, and I had a 15-minute ride up to Engen, 4:30 out the door every morning. I mean, it's ridiculous. I came to Cape Town 2011. Started looking for some riding mates. I had my mate Ross McEwen, who also moved around the same time. He was a triathlete from Joburg and the Hammer. And then there was another mate, Andy Crowley, who's a mate of Nick's, who I think put us in touch. And we started riding in the morning and meeting at La Perla. There were 5 or 6 of us. Roy Burtonshaw was a mate who was out from England trying to move back at the time. All he had to do was ride his bike. And we met and rode. And we met at La Perla every morning, or Tuesday, Thursdays, and we rode. I think I started the WhatsApp group, and I thought, it was the early days of, it was maybe the first WhatsApp group I was ever part of, and I started it. And we said, let's keep this going to organize the rides, guys. And yeah, it was Let's Ride, it was called.
Okay, because that's still on your.
Yeah, the WhatsApp group, that's where it's from. The WhatsApp group was called Let's Ride. LPC just came a year or two later, because we always met at La Perla, and then it was called the La Perla Classic. And then I think it was Liam Graham, another mate. He started tagging his rides on Strava, LPC. And here we are. And the WhatsApp group, obviously, as it happens, it just grows and grows. And it actually, as also things happen, or it happens in many areas, I think, with these groups, it got bigger than, I mean, let's say there were 60 or 70 people on the group, but there were 25 people riding. And a lot of people were, and then Coral Vosloo, who joined kind of, let's say, halfway through the LPC's existence and was also moved from Joburg, kind of took control and said, okay, now listen, we need to cull that, and we need to start a fresh new group, and with riders that ride. And that group has now been active for 5-6 years.
His background, he's a proper structured
Finance.
Knew it. He had CA written all over him. Also doesn't know anything other than 400 watts.
No. There's a few of them, unfortunately, in our group.
So for context, I went and rode to get some B-roll footage, which we'll now insert when this is being played back. Met the guys who were all late, coincidentally. They weren't at the meeting point. As said, there was a lot of confusion. Drew had somehow confused the worst, which was hilarious to witness. And nothing could have prepared me for how hard that ride was. Honestly, there were so many what the fuck moments. Like, how is this so hard non-stop? And I'm trying to video the group
to make it a little more difficult.
Shots. And at one point, I go down and it's like 330 watts or whatever the case, and the group's moving like this. It was like 500 to bridge back on, and then Coral goes to the front. So he's like,
oh. And he was on a gravel bike.
Yeah, your guys' reputation from the outside in. I'm also a Vali, moved only 2.5 years ago, as a result of meeting Brendan through. You guys don't know Richard Baxter by any chance from Joburg? Bike fit guy, did bike fits, and he was our coach for a while. Melo Velo, he was operated in the northern suburbs. He's now in Oz. Anyway, similar story, get a bike, mountain bike, go ride, lifestyle change, get a road bike, rabbit hole, entire life consumed by cycling. It's just so much healthier than the Joburg alternative of just permanent boozing and anxiety and just nothing happening with your life. And anyway, he asks me one day, like, have you heard of the DC? I was like, at this point, I've never cycled 200K. I'm like, imagine riding 200K, never alone racing it. No, tell me more. He's like, brew. There's these teams in the Seaboard, and they have this battle amongst themselves. And one of them are called Pure Savage, and they ride every Tuesday. And he's telling me this thing, my eyes are lighting up like a kid in the Reggie Rush. If you remember the Reggie Rush on TV, it's like, oh my God. Put my bike in a box, flew down on a Monday, went and joined. I literally flew here to go and ride the Savage ride on a Tuesday morning. So, and it was one of the classic Tuesdays. The weather, it was a berg wind, so it was warm. It's like the middle of cuck winter in Joburg. It was like terrible. It was all these jerseys and fucking rev racing. No one stopping. Puncture. It's like whatever you are. So just obsessed. Anyway, long story short, he knew a guy on the team, Matt Beckett. DC's planning is happening. They have a race team. They have a social team. But look, you know how to just get on a DC team. It's like impossible, especially theirs. Yeah. And I land up in that podium team with Drew was there for the first year. Dean Hop, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? Diamond Geldenaes. The pictures downstairs, your Jasper Stuyven here. It's my first one. And then we would never have moved here if we didn't do that DC. It's like fucking hooked. It's like a drug. Yeah. And so from then, the long backdrop story was, it's like, who these LPC guys? And it's, what did Brendan always had a post? Savage setting out again. Our goal is to beat LPC and Mother. That's it. No banter, no nothing. Like, we're going out there to beat you motherfuckers, those motherfuckers. Nothing else. Like, that is the goal. It's just unbelievable. Like, in good spirit, but like, also serious. Like, Oak's trained to beat you and to beat Mother. And like, people properly committed to it. More than I've committed to anything else competitively in my life, for sure. And it was LPC with the ex-pro retired wealthy bullies. And then it became the pro, because at that point,
we had Maarten in the first year that there was a kind of bit of a show.
That was an adaptation to the World Tour Pro thing, which
Maarten Tjallingii was
Jasper is amazing. You have to tell that one. It's so funny.
We'll come back to that now. And then Mother with the milk alternative fashionistas from the Seaboard. Now, obviously, ECC is a big player in the whole thing. And they were like, you never worry about LPC because they ride so hard to fuck each other up. They'll never, ever get to the end faster than you. I was like, haha, sure. Going to ride on Saturday. I was like, that's no joke. I phoned Brendan like immediately after. I was like, bro, you can't believe how hard these guys ride. This is fucking crazy. My normal hours was like 290 for a Saturday ride.
So the interesting thing about this rivalry, showdown, climax is at the DC, of course. But throughout the year, we're riding up and down the Seaboard, and we are just 5 minutes apart on the road because we start at 5:45 at La Perla and they start at the garage 2Ks down the road. And you know what I mean? There's a few minutes in it. So generally what happens is in my memory, we always just rolling down chappies, and then the pure savage guys are starting to come up in, because now it's splintered a bit in different groups. But we never, unless we plan it or there's a smaller group, it never merges and where there's an actual showdown. So it's like a virtual race on Tuesdays.
Almost as if someone designed it that way.
You know what I mean? And then ECC used to start in town, so they were then 5 minutes behind them. They're starting earlier now, so it is a bit more, but it's very interesting.
Were you there 2 Tuesdays ago? So I'd mentioned I'd try to stoke that fire and get everyone together. It's like a challenge to ECC and to LPC, which I'm glad the message got out. That is like my greatest cycling banter moment of my entire life. Leaving Shell, and it was the first time I'd seen the new kits. So I'm glad to see you guys have taken your corporate identity very seriously. That is so slick. Skin dogs. Oaks coming out in skin suits. LPC new kit. The 4 mother guys who still, I mean,
their skin suits are from, yeah. But those are the new ones. So that's the undated version. I haven't been paying attention. I'm not on.
I know it's like catalog. There's folders, and then obviously the ECC guys. I mean, that morning was wild.
So that very seldom happened. That's why it's awesome that it came together, because it's like a semi-quiet season. Everybody's just coming out of winter and firing up, but the squads aren't huge. So that to amalgamate on a morning like that is great and should happen from time to time, I think.
Now we're going to try and coerce a few more of those. Because I actually don't know how that will end. I think Jared will probably I don't know, probably still will be the first to the top. I mean, he's just ridiculous at the moment. But they also don't stop, so they don't regroup on Seikos, and they don't stop on. They go down, they race down, and then up Empire the whole way. So it's a race from beginning to end.
Yeah, we usually use Empire as a neutral. It's always been neutral. Has dropped, so maybe but so not.
No, we met you coming into Hard Bay, because we're the guys from the Burbs meet us. We come over from Llandudno. So Empire, we regroup, meet, and then neutral to chappies, and then as we go through, then it turns on again. Yeah,
we've got to get everyone to get there at the same time. I want to see a Seikos DAS and a chappies DAS. That'll be
There's a so I mean, the LPC, the evolution of the LPC, LPC, young 20-something-year-olds or at the early 30s for me, but we're all on the Atlantic Seaboard, and then sort of everybody other than P2 held the fort, is still in town. There's a couple of guys who are still in town. I live in Noordhoek now. There's a lot of the guys who were part of the Atlantic Seaboard crew who are now, in Claremont and Constantia area, and so they join us going over our neck and then catch us on Empire, and then do chappies at, 1,000,000 watts, and then kind of go home, and everybody sort of licks their wounds and starts the morning sort of with their face on their keyboard. And it's awesome. I used to, work days on Tuesdays were, in the early days, were hysterical.
So you do podcast Tuesdays?
Kind of drooling at your desk at the office, having just, absolutely drilled your body as hard as
got to leave 4 a.m. to make that savage ride on Tuesday. So I ride prominent.
Yeah.
So it's come one of those.
You should look up there.
Or drive here and leave from here if possible.
Can you recall when the rivalry between these groups starts? No one that I've asked is particularly clear, because you guys are kind of doing your own thing and you land up at the DC. Savage is kind of doing their own thing, and their story is strikingly similar. It's a group of guys, bride, they're in town, finance, let's go do the DC. Tuesdays, it's a big part of the training block in the morning. It's like they're all really similar stories, and they happen to take place there, and they happen to be a few minutes apart. Can you remember where like the daggers started to form? And I say daggers, it's all light-hearted.
It is quite light-hearted. Where did the I mean, it was, for me, it was more around
What's nemesis?
It was more around social media, and actually, in particular, Strava. There were a couple of there was some fairly early trolling from the original LPC crowd. I won't name any names, but actually, most of those guys, in fact, a couple of them are overseas now. One or two are, living in other parts of Cape Town where it's impractical to sort of be part of.
They know who they are.
They know exactly who they are. I know exactly who they are. But there was a lot of Strava trolling where we came up with quite a few pseudonyms for Pure Savage.
Who's the architects of that?
So there was the Pureed Cabbage. And so we, because we just...
You guys, that's a personal favorite because there's a lot of iterations of it.
Not really, but but all we just saw was that there were just all these guys whose names would, and then it would be, hyphen or dash or, Pure Savage.
How do it realize it says your name on Strava?
Why would you do that? So we just started putting Pureed Cabbage and various others, and I don't think I might have done it once or twice, but
changing your Strava name as part of the...
No, kind of like more just changing the name of the ride.
Okay. Okay, that's a good starting point to the rivalry.
And then, and it was, I mean, we didn't, honestly, I didn't know anybody who rode with the Pure Savage guys. I didn't, and yeah, I mean, I'm aware of some of the names. I mean, they're very big and impressive riders, big names, who can hold down some serious power. And those guys I'm aware of, obviously, but I don't know the sort of, the rest of it.
And I think the rivalry also is from Strava, like I said, because we're riding the same segments, the same ride every Tuesday, but not with each other. And then post-ride, everybody's kind of at the office. How fast did Savage ride this morning of chappies? And then we look, and then there's a couple of comments that fly, and then that kind of thing probably got the rivalry going to an extent. But it wasn't ever like, oh, we got to beat these guys. It was just, it's all very, I mean, nobody in us, I mean, there's a few guys that are pretty serious, but we all adults, most of us have got kids, and, we ride hard, and exactly. And
I'd say some of the best bands. I'm sure you guys have seen that meme account, the KOTAS one, not your cycling friends. Does anyone in your team know who it is?
No. Remember that I think we started an Instagram account so that could be addressed or could be targets.
We all really wish you guys would just take Instagram more seriously so we can have another participant to the banter.
No, guys have got shit to do.
I applaud whoever it is and what they've kind of created every I think only he does.
No one knows who it is. I know one person who knows who it is. I can't say who that person is or where they work at this point. Until after December, I probably can. But I don't even want to know. If I was offered to know, I don't want to know.
It's best that that it comes out of the darkness.
It's also like part of the mythology of it all, right? Yeah, I mean, there's this like kind of strange emergent rivalry, which I think also came to a head around somebody wanting to make a showdown at DC. I mean, for us, that wasn't actually. Pete and I joined what was the kind of bits and pieces of what became the LPC DC team. And that was called the Misfits and Misfits. And we had basically the LPC kind of race team was the Misfits. And we had John Wakefield, who's now the performance director for Rebel and Scra. And we had Raul de Jong, who now runs Rocker Corba actually.
Mike Posthumus in a jersey 2 sizes too small for him.
To join us as do we have a picture of that we can bring up? So he would wait till everybody had ordered, and then order their jerseys for the event, and then he would pick the guy who least looked like him in terms of size and order the same size. He would order the same size kit as me. Now, Mike's backstory is he was a prop for Province, and his thighs are 2 of mine, and his arms are the size of my thighs. And so he'd order this like skin tight Corey, Biven,
It's the right size.
and he would have to wake up like 20 minutes earlier than anyone else to like Vaseline himself into the thing, and it's like he'd be doing this for like, you know, and then he'd just be like, oh, this feels great, you know, and it'd just be this like absolutely you couldn't pull the gift.
But with that team, we won 2 years in a row. We won the Charles Milner first 12 riders to finish together award. Yeah. It's a separate competition where you got to finish. They take the time of the 12th rider. And we won that twice in a row without any World Tour pros. Misfits,
I think he was good enough for like just like a top.
The Misfit Pterodactyls, I think, was our official name.
True. The motherfucking pterodactyls. Because there's a the oatmeal, motherfucking pterodactyl. So you'd all like on the drive upwards of seat in Ireland Spotify and play the motherfucking pterodactyl.
Go look for it. It's
You must. It's just it's up there.
Speaking of stuff out there, did you see that the post Mother put together on how to ride the DC and said like Bali with a voiceover?
Yeah,
man, that was like the golden the golden era of premium bands. I'm so they're not riding. They have like
shanked up.
It's you know, it's hard when you're just starting out in your career, and you know.
It's Brendan talks about it often, like how difficult it is to actually keep a DC team running. It's not easy to get 12 oaks to commit to saying every year.
It's not. I mean, in LPC on our side, we've just had our one of our stalwarts, old Miguel, crashed on Chappies last week, and his hand is in pieces. But he's coming back, but not in time for the DC. And it happens, and then you're scrambling for riders, and unfortunately,
been riding in New York, so he's out.
You sure come?
No, I don't think he will. He's still kind of coordinating it from the shadows, because the entry is through him, or he kind of like organized that. So he's still, and he was an integral part of the
engine
room of the Jasper Stuyven queue.
I guess it's the appropriate time for you to explain to everyone how the hell you have Jasper Stuyven on your team, and you've had let's go one back. Let's go to your first
World Tour pro, and maybe just
share that story. The first,
what story?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great story because, I mean, what I and I work in high performance sports, and I work with a lot of pro riders, and I always, my awareness is that it's two different sports. When you take it, when you're Alan Haffey, when you're whatever, Marco Hubert or Jasper Stuyven or whoever it is, it's almost like it is a different sport. Because at that level, all of our banter and all of our, I suppose, attempts at smashing a Strava segment or this or that, it's child's play for some of these guys, right? So that is the backdrop. So
our bands is actually a lot better than us. He's like all like each other. It's Warhouse, it's no that. Next thing you know, Jonas and Patty are going out on holiday together. We're kids in love.
No, that's it's a lot more cutthroat than in the pro circles for sure. And that's what I love about like amateur riding is just everybody's got a hero and a villain, and I guess much like pro riding. But so what happened was we had an LPC team sort of drawn from the ranks of the the best whatever 10, 12 guys pulled from the Tuesday morning ride on the Thursday morning ride. And as happens with every DC team, like a month out, the guys, we lost someone to an injury or a crash or whatever it was. Or
just I haven't trained and I've now suddenly realized I'm not going to make it.
Yeah, there's that as well. So one of our long-standing members is a guy called Chris Bros. And Chris was doing a training ride and pulled into the Noordhoek Farm Village and came across David George and I think James Tennant. We haven't actually, I don't know if you know James, but he's a ex sort of South African pro, very, very strong rider. Also just loads of pedigree, much like David George. And he saw James and David and said, hey guys, look, we're a couple of riders down, which, would one of you guys be interested? And David said, no, I'm sorry, I've got a team. James was like, signed up already. And then Dave said, well, how about, this guy, Maarten? Because he's standing there, the three of them were on a ride together. And I don't know if you've ever spent any time with Maarten, but he rides his bib shorts like sort of mid thigh. Chris vintage. I mean, he's the same age as me, so that makes what's almost 50, right?
The look is vintage.
The look is vintage, but it's from a different era, you know. So anyway, Chris is like, "Whoa, Dave, you know, like we go pretty quick around here. Hump the brakes a little. I don't think you should be inviting, you know, third party into our DC team if you don't mind, you know." And then he sort of proceeds to sort of say, "Look, you know, we're pretty quick. We're pretty big deal around." And then he said, David and Maarten just packed up laughing. And then, you know, Chris was like, "Okay, guys, well, like, you know, what's the joke here? You can't just go inviting some rando into our DC team." Yeah. And then Maarten turned around and he said, "Well, I've done a couple of Tours de France, and I don't know if he mentioned, but you know, he's like third in Paris-Roubaix or something." And Chris was like, "Oh, I'm just going to kind of climb back in my hotel and
Tell me, and you're welcome to come ride with us."
And he said, "Well, you know, I mean, well, Arthur stands. Are you interested?" And he sort of did a bit of umming and ahhing.
What did he ask if he knows how to roll through? You're like, if that actually happened, that is the most legendary interaction.
It is. I mean, and
Maarten's full name?
Tjallingii, not on Tjallingii, and he was ex.
We'll put up a Wikipedia like thing of this.
So this Melissa bike back in the day,
Grab bike.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't know, I suppose, if he was sitting there. Just the whole, like, oh,
Hang on. There's a protocol here. I think you're just jumping the gun, baby.
could we get some power data before you just hop on? Yeah.
So yeah, and then obviously, you know, Chris was like, "Hey, that, you know, if you're keen, it's on this date," and Maarten, if you've met him, he's such a warm and lovely guy, and he's just, and also would find that hysterical. Like he found that very, very funny, and he was like, "Yeah, you know, cool." And then so, you know, I think a week or two later, the DC team, the LPC DC team, kind of organized a ride out to, I think, Louwberg or something. I wasn't a part of it. And Barry Ross, who's another member of the team, sort of mentions the story of how, you know, the guys all sort of picked up the ride, that kind of all get together and they're doing some nice paceline work out into the, with a tailwind and back into the headwind on the way home. And then everybody sort of peels off, and then Baz is pulling Maarten, and he says, "You'll never forget, like Maarten from the back was just like, Baz, this is a bit heavy, you know, like, can you sort of back off a little?" And I was just like, "Oh God, you're a month out from DC. You know, we've got a World Tour pro, you know, in the team, but really, I mean, I'm just getting us home, and the guy's calling me off the pace." And I just, like what I was saying about it being two different sports, right? Within 3 weeks, Maarten Tjallingii was, you know, it was him just pulling absolutely everyone. 3 weeks later, we checked his Strava data 2 years ago, or last year, in fact. He had done a total of about 3,500 Ks for the entire year until November, which is nothing. Yeah. Absolutely nothing. I was probably one of the weaker members. I'd done about 5 or 6. Yeah. I think, you know, most of the guys had done 10 to 12. Well, Jasper was on about 55 or something. I can't remember. But so, you know, it just goes to how that stuff is muscle memory, and that ability to, and technique. You know, Maarten does such an amazing personality and kind of road captain to have in that space. When I rode with the team,
they automatically get road captain immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, but he's also just really, really interested.
Well, getting him as gas was petrol. Surely you could put him through a hard tile.
Yeah. So in terms of LPC, I've always been called the chairman since day one. I started the group ride, and it just became, and then as of the last 8-9 years, I've started running, trail running, and got into ultra running. I got into ultra running, and there's the biggest trail run in South Africa is the Ultra Trail Cape Town, and I've got into it, and I've done the 100K a number of times, and a few years ago the DC was always placed a week before, and I would ride the DC, and cycling is a little less hard on your body, so I would recover the week and then run Ultra Trail Cape Town the following weekend, and I had pretty good success. Had good DCs and good trail runs at Ultra Trail Cape Town. But then a few years ago, the dates merged. Someone moved their date forward or backwards, and now it's been on the same weekend. So I've got these goals of getting into this Western States run in the US, and the UTCT is a qualifier, and I've just been running. I've just had to kind of until I get it right. So I'm running. So I haven't kind of been available for the LPC DC team, and Coral has kind of taken over local captaincy, and then when Maarten and Jasper step in, Coral's very happy to hand over the cap for DC.
How different is it riding? I mean, I've no idea. I was very lucky the year you guys did with Reese in your team, Reese McDonald.
Yes.
That year I dropped, and Jurks were coming, and he said, "Hop on the back here, just to tow you to sector 1." The most, thank God for that. So I would have died, and we're going around one of those like classic bends, like just cruising 40, and there was the Trek kit stands out like you can't believe, and it was like a pinch yourself moment. And I sat there and I thought to myself, like, thank God these oaks, however they've managed to do this, are doing this, because in what universe are you crossing a ball on a soccer pitch and Drogba's chesting it and like playing? Yeah. And like, regardless of how easy that effort is for him, you're in a race,
but it's not.
And this guy's there, and it was just surreal. Like, I can't compare that moment to anything. It was just so fucking cool. Riding with him in your team, I mean, obviously you guys aren't training all year round with all these guys. It sounds like Martin's relatively local. I don't know if he is. How different is it riding with the World Tour Pro? Like, do they bring a leadership element? Is there like a guys do this, do that? Like, how much does that change, if at all? Like, is there anything there? Is there any dynamic change? Is there better sense of leadership?
Yeah, look, they as much as they are, just like Nic says, in another league, another sport, better than anybody else, that regardless of in what shape we're on. For them, it's kind of off season, and he's here to race, but also to enjoy it and whatnot. So his season is over. He's doing it as a 200K ride with these South African guys, spending 80 to 90% on the front. But still, it doesn't really matter if we're not closing the gap. He's there to nurture us, and it's not too serious for him if we lose to Mother or to Savage. He's there to make sure he can pull us, we can stay on the wheel.
Are they aware of the battle? Do they know about the rivalry?
Yes, it does, and like he's in one or two instances where I think the other teams expect Jasper's invested in it, and with great respect, would be very cool if he was, but I'd be honest. I mean, he's aware of it, and obviously he wants us to try and beat him, but there's only so much one.
It'd be so sick if he just reposted one bit of banter, like, can't wait to destroy Savage in East City this year. Like, just imagine what the rest of the media from around the world, I mean, from your days as an editor, imagine what they would think. Like, what the fuck is this KOTAS thing? What is this race? Like, there'd definitely be talkability around it. But you're saying that for him, it's, I mean, does he give you any indication of like what his perceived effort is, his intensity factor, like how easy?
So last year, look, he's doing a lot of work, and when you get on so here's an illustration, and this is one of my don't peel off occasionally. But actually, so you've got someone like Maarten who, pedigree, and he's putting in a big effort. You've got obviously Jasper, who is off season, as Pete says, but working really hard. And also working really hard to make it easier for us, which I think is, it's not working hard to kill us. It's working hard to smooth out the rotations, to make sure that the echelon is moving. Yes, he's going to do, more time on the front than anyone else in the team by virtue of who he is and what he's capable of. But he's also there to kind of like make sure that it's a well-oiled machine. And it's subtle little things. I mean,
but you definitely experience that. There's a different experience riding on the road with that caliber of person. Fair to say. But I mean, like, no one knows. I mean, how many people do we know that ride with that level of athletes? Like, none.
It's such a joy to do it. That But Maarten, for example, I'll never forget. So 2 years ago, I came in particularly undercooked, wasn't feeling that great, wasn't really expecting to be with the team for very long. I think we'd got to Seabrook, which, if you know the route, is about 15, 20 Ks in. And I think I had done the highest power output of the entire year by that point. And my average heart rate was about 5 beats below max up until that point. And I literally was just counting down. I was like, can I pull off now? No, 10 Ks is a little bit early. I can't really say I
get fine. No,
at 20 Ks. I was like, I could pull off now. Then I've done 10% of the total distance. Yeah, that's giving me a little bit of self-respect there. Then it was like 30 Ks. I was like, geez, I can't hold this tempo for much longer. Like 40 Ks in, I was like, okay, guys, I'm, talking to myself saying it. And then Maarten could see, and I mean, obviously when you're riding with that kind of anxiety, it shows up in the way you ride. And Maarten was obviously behind me or alongside me, and he just said, dude, stop looking over your shoulder. No one's coming to save you, type thing. We didn't say those exact words, but he said, stop looking over your shoulder, put your head down, tuck your elbows in, and ride. And I was like, okay. And he was right, because all of that anxiety was making me actually ride really, really inefficiently. And tucking my elbows in and dropping my head. And it wasn't like being in the wind tunnel where you're trying to hold Jasper's wheel and you can do a couple of little things, keep your cadence really consistent, and actually just improves your efficiency. And and then I actually held on to, I think, 5 Ks short of water point 1, which I was, it was 90 kilometers further than I thought I'd make. So I was interested.
And so we've got a voice note from Jasper Stuyven, setting the record straight, which I hope we're allowed. We'll put some B-roll up and play that over along that voice note if we can. If we hear from the horse's mouth exactly how the Hollyoaks got that right.
So I ended up with the LPC team because of Chris and Kieran. I've met them at a party or after party organized by Breitling in Waterfront, South Africa, and they just I think you guys had ridden also double century. I've done it that year with Breitling, but like social event. And they invited me if I would come back, if I would like to join the team, and I did, and it was just fun to be riding it with LPC and throwing you guys around. And of course, for me, there's no, I don't have the goal to win and try to look for top favorite teams, but I just nice with the people you met and the good moments you share with them, to also share the double century again with them. And in general, South Africa is just a place where you really like spending time, and it's a place where both my wife and I have fallen in love with the past year. So we always like to come back during European winters and enjoy some summertime and the trails, the good food, the wine, the people. So looking forward to spending some time again in the Cape this year as well.
But in your words, how did that come to being? In as much detail as you can share, given all the NDAs you've got.
Breitling a few years ago and they regularly do a kind of like celebrity VIP ride with a lot of Breitling, the very expensive watches, with a lot of their sort of VIPs and important clients. And Jan Frodeno, I think Vincenzo Nibali rode, Jasper was one of them, and it was the day after or 2 days after the DC, and guys were at a sort of Breitling event in the waterfront, and Chris, again, our foot in mouth,
his work is key.
He definitely team manager, our hustler in chief, CMO saw Jasper at the end of the bar. I think threw a couple of tequilas at him and Kieran. And the guys just hit it off and exchanged WhatsApps at, I don't know, midnight or whatever it was. And Chris thought he'd never hear from him again. And then, in March, and said, look, instead of doing this celebrity sock pedal, would you be interested in riding with us?
With some real hot stuff.
and knowing that there's no comparison back, but he said, yeah, cool, sounds great. And then Chris was like, oh, is this tequila talking? Is this, whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't expect to hear from him again. And then Jasper messaged Chris, and Chris, I think it was something along the lines of, this is Jasper, does the office still stand for DC at the end of the year in March or April, whatever it was.
Have you still got a spot for me?
And so Chris was like, no, really, who is this? Who's trolling you type thing? And he was like, no, it really is me. And Chris was like, well, yeah, I mean, obviously there's a space for me, 100%. So put in, and Jasper and his
We've got benched. Doesn't matter.
Dude, I don't even know that anyone got benched. I think we were still trying to fill the team because it's the way it works, right, guys? That's the multi-possess. So it was like, if you can put one or two riders in and the guys are motivated and keen and locked in, then spaces will open up and the team will shift around and whatever. And that's just nature of it is.
And then obviously he enjoyed the vibe and enjoyed riding with the guys, which is why he's happy to come back a few years in a row.
Does he ever tell you guys afterwards, like, fuck, they were so lekker, or, I mean, obviously different language, but does he give you feedback like how much he enjoys it? Does he think this place is beautiful?
Yeah,
he spends time here, which is what he doesn't come out for the DC. He's here anyway, training in Stellenbosch and off seasoning. So he spends more time than you think in the Western Cape. Yeah,
There was a Marble Cape Town launch event that I saw him at, and it was too awkward for me to go walk up to him and just like fanboy. I was like starstruck. I think he's such a legend, like as a professional athlete and just as a person. So I did the honorable, mature thing and sent my wife in there. And she went and broke the ice. And I kind of like, I'm like, oh, hi.
just casually.
It was so cringy. Anyway, like it was just like a quick 5 or 10 minutes. And we had bought him those tequilas at the end of the last one. And I was just wondering if he could remember the signed serviette from all of us. Or the joke that came afterwards from that, which was, I can't remember who it was in your team, but asked when we had brought the tequilas, are you guys sure you can afford that? Which I thought was so fucking funny, considering the perceived, like, these are the wealthy buddies and these are the banter was so good. Anyway, and proceeded to chat for a while and just like, what do you think about the place? And he's like, how nice that guy is and down to earth, which is, if I think about some of the local elites, not to throw shade at anyone in particular, but there's more ego in a elite South African cyclist that wouldn't come within 1 million miles of that oak overseas. And he's just what a great ambassador.
Also, the kind of rider he is on the world tour. He's one of those guys who's not scared to put his nose in the wind and go on the attack or chase something down at his own expense. And whether he wins or doesn't expect the team leader to, he just does it. He's a beast on a bike, and it's great to watch him race.
He's in like the top of the world peloton. I mean, he's not just like an oak there.
But you don't remember win Milan San Remo, it's not
I'm taking really, yeah.
And does he ever do? I mean, he's ever going to be there on a Tuesday? Does he do anything else?
We've got him on a couple of Saturday rides. He may join us on closer to DSU if he's in.
But to be honest, those guys don't ride at 5:45.
Yeah,
that's also true. Hey, because they're normally racing in the afternoon.
And training, they have coffee at 9 and roll out at 10.
He's going to have to bend the rules for us. I suppose we could all bend our rules and go, kids, I'll see you at 3 p.m. today.
One of the greatest, like, again, like my. You can be shocked. I've got these sort of takeaway moments from the DC over the last couple of years around riding with Maarten and Jasper, and that year that I honestly thought I was, hanging on for dear life, and at any minute throughout the first 2.5, 3 hours of racing, it was running through my head that I was going to bail. Like, this next turn, the next turn, I'm not going to join the next pace line coming through. I'm going to just, quietly go into the back, and the next 7 or 8 or 10 guys or whatever.
It's amazing how often you think about giving up on that ride.
Yeah. And we hit up the Trudeau, which is a fairly decent climb, and it's one of the most significant climbs of the whole event. And I was like, okay, here's my chance to just slowly exit stage left to parachute. And then if you ride with mates and one of your mate sees you suffering, you often get a hand on the back, or you get a little
Hand of God.
yeah, hand of God, something to help you along. And then I honestly feel like I just got an e-bike. The bike just went off like this, and it didn't touch me. He put like 3 fingers on my seat post, and Jasper did like 5-6 pedal strokes and dropped me off at the front, and then circled back for Miguel and did the same for him. Obviously that hadn't been scripted. That wasn't part of the plan. It wasn't anything, but you could see there were like 2 or 3 guys who were struggling who we might need later. And
How hard that is for him. I'd love to know if it's just, 'cause in my mind, it must just be like,
anyway, it was a really nice touch, literally, but, and I needed it to this more than I'd like to admit.
so 2025, do you have 12? Is the team, have you got an official 12-man team?
Yeah, so again, unfortunately, I'm running again on the same day I'm out. Miguel broke his hand 2 weeks ago. Kewan's fractured his hip. We're scrambling a bit, but the team will be there.
As it stands, you've got just one World Tour Pro.
We've got one in our sleeve.
Nothing you can share too soon.
Look, the deal the ink isn't dry yet, so let's just.
He's not on the roster.
What free beverage are you offering this guy?
Look, there's unlimited Jack Black to anybody who wants to join the team with that kind of pedigree. Pete and I are lucky enough to both be Jack Black ambassadors. So, I'll just give my entire year's supply if that's what it takes. No, but it's if it comes together, it comes together because it's a cool experience that somebody wants to have, and I mean that as much for all of us as for the guys who are coming along.
I'd love to know if these Oaks chats and they back that side. Like, he's crazy South African guy. Go mull to this thing. Like, don't you want to ask one of them if I can come? But
that's how this came through.
This unspoken thing.
Jasper invited one of his mates to come.
I'm trying to think whose mates are that could be very exciting. But I don't know enough. I'm sure I started radically speculating. Yeah,
Not currently on the World Tour, but has pedigree.
We need what is Teddy wearing? Richard Milo. We need them to have an interest in cycling to send him. Yeah, Breitling's left South Africa. They've relocated. They've all restructured to setting up in Dubai. I think Rolex was the first one to move there, and industry experts tell me. So I told you we've been frothing for a channel sponsor. I was like, premium watch brand would make a lot of sense, and I don't know anyone at Garmin. So imagine, what are you wearing there, Dave? I was just a cool 2 million rand watch. No, not at all. I don't want to see it. But a guy that I know who's worked in different senior marketing roles in the industry, he explained like these brands have all restructured and it's in Dubai and it's super boring and fucking lame and profits whatever. But as a result of that moving there, the marketing investment locally is how sad. But if only,
it is
luxury time back Drickus. Drickus on a bike would even be interesting. Imagine a team of 12 EFC fighters. And then at the first pit stop, you could just get a nice little ring for them to go and bash each other to pieces. Imagine. That is a terrible idea. Worst idea we've spitballed on the show so far.
And they also have some money to throw.
Yeah, there's tons there. They're getting watch deals where others aren't. New kit, and it looks like is that an official logo now? Because I've tried for our posters downstairs to steal off the internet any form of brand CI I can get from you guys.
So the kit. So we had So again, LPC, if I would have to say, started in 2011, 2012 with our little small crew that then by 2014, 15, it was now a proper, we had numbers and it was like a little bit of a crew. And our mate Raul de Jong, who has always been in the cycling industry, he had taken up and was the distributor for Quare cycling kit out of Switzerland and doing custom kits and whatnot. And he said, listen, we need team kit and I'm going to make it, let's design it. And that was iteration 1. And so what happened is we got our first little design, a very plain black jersey with some orange and green kind of teal triangles, which was quite hip at the time on the back pockets. with the LPC logo, and we had iteration 1. We made 15, 20 kits, and we rode that every Tuesday and Saturday. And then the next year, so we did 4 years in a row of variations of that kit with different colors, but never the same kit, always a different jersey, which I think looking back was quite cool. But would always happen that someone was wearing 2016's kit, someone was wearing 2018's kit. If we had picked the design and kept it uniform, that, just anyway, that happened, and we made 5 or 6 kits. Then one year we made a departure, just a navy blue kit, completely different. And then we had a year or 2 of no jersey, and then we re-upped this year. Carl took the helm along with Lisa, and did a very corporate.
Lisa in the marketing fraternity. Is this her work?
No. She just styles well, and along with, but our
RH77 kind of brand ambassador. But so
It is some,
and
so our current kit got driven by there was a little bit of what I've also learned about making kit for a team is someone needs to take charge and make decisions. You can't ask for input. That's we tried it a few years ago. We had 4 or 5 designs laid out with colors and choices, and it was overwhelming and impossible. You got to take charge and say, guys, this is the kit. What size do you want? And
Sizes. I saw some guys when the camera came around. You could see there were some tight skin dogs out there.
The problem with our kit this year was we ordered it when all of us were a size smaller than when it arrived.
And that's a massive problem when delivery window is actually like August. I mean, unless you spend some time in the Dolomites or riding in the south of France, you're looking a little bit sorry for yourself after a Cape Town winter. So we have a couple of guys who still need to get into their onesies.
peak form. And in terms of the club fraternity, whatever you want to call it, people take those words very seriously. How open is it to people that want to join it? Someone moves to the seaboard, they want to get involved. Is it like get on the WhatsApp group quite easily, or is it pretty gated?
I think it's not gated much at all. All we need is someone to come and ride with us. And once you've joined a few rides, and you obviously kind of are in the mix, and I think the biggest thing is commitment. What I don't like about these kind of groups is someone who comes on a ride or 2, angles to get in on the group and part of the squad, and then you never see them again. Which happens. So if someone shows some commitment and is a cool person and a decent rider, it doesn't even matter if they're a decent rider, they just must love riding, and arrives to ride, they're in. We don't really have hard and fast rules, but come to 5:45. No, it leaves when the ride leaves at 5:45.
And no one's going to check in with your feelings on the ride, hang in or.
No. We will meet you in Hout Bay. You're welcome to rejoin the ride there, and then there's certain rides where it certainly is harder. But back to your original question, it's absolutely not a closed cliquey squad. If people want to ride, all they need to do is come and ride.
So I asked the question as I meet a few people sitting there, and a lot of them, there's this stigma, at least. Cycling is very elitist. Yeah. It's very closed off. It's very cliquey. Like, the worst assumption people make about Cape Town is this cliquey thing. I mean, we moved here, we knew a few people that we cycle with, and that network grows week by week by week. And I've said now on a few of these, I'm yet to meet one person that I've seen visibly, audibly judge someone else based on inferior kit, cheaper components, cheaper bike, older bike. I know there's some rim brake people in our midst over here. I've never ever heard anyone like actually throw like a diss out, like, oh fuck, check that X bike, like how cuck or how embarrassing. I've never heard it, not once, ever. And I've never heard anyone sit here and say either on camera or off, like, actually, like, we don't really want anyone to come. Everyone has pretty much the same thing. Like, everyone's welcome. There is a culture check. Like, you can't come there and be a raging durst and everyone's going to be happy to keep you around. Like, it's definitely a vibe check. But on the whole, like, come and join. And that's
exactly. It's the cycling community is very open. And in fact, on our chats, when we know that numbers are lean and a few guys are away or injured or sick, the guys say, listen, we're gonna hang back 5 minutes and roll with Savage and pull in, and then the guys have a good ride with them and no one minds that we're pulling together. We're all friends with the guys from ECD Cycles. It's most of our local bike shops, certainly in town, and they are friends. We ride with them. And I agree. The cycling community is much tighter and more open.
Actually, very warm and cozy. Yeah. And I don't know why I think some people like the idea that they're badass, macho. I don't know.
I think that what are the difficulties there? I mean, anybody who pitches up at that starting point will be welcomed. The challenge is always going to be, are you still there after the first two turns and you're heading out on?
Yeah, and don't cry about it. Like, that's part of the challenge.
We actually have a story about that. We had might have been winter because it was dark, but we were riding every Tuesday, Thursday, and then I don't know where there was this girl that just kind of started hanging on to us without announcing herself. And it doesn't matter how hard we went, she was there at the top of Seikabosi and at the top of Chappies, but wouldn't say anything and just kind of did, and then kind of back, and then she would go home before we got to coffee, and then the guys started trolling on Strava, saying, "Who is this that's riding with us without and how bloody strong is she?" And it was this
New Zealander.
It was this New Zealander, Lucy, and she was Lucy James, and she was just down. She was also a lawyer or attorney, and just super strong. And then we started not
like an elite, just
civilian. And our mate David Higgs on our squad reached out to her on Strava and said, "Not the chef," and he said, "Hey, you're welcome to join us. This is us and whatnot." And then it's he met her online, and then kind of when the next morning she came, we kind of, "Hey, Lucy, come over. This is us exactly." And then she became a great part of our squad. And I tell you what, we could never drop her. And she did end up featuring in some national champs results and things.
Come by every now and again?
She's moved to the UK. But
she was an elite rower. And I've always thought, give me a washed-up rower, and I'd love to help them turn into
Forward the center when it drops, or timestamp when she gets her mention. And I'm sure she'll still visit. So.
No. So when she visits, she does pull in from time to time, and if she's got a bike, she rides. But it was a great story. We would be on our group. Who is that chick? And it was
destroyed.
No, she was power. And it was great when she did get in the mix. Super nice girl, and was in our kit. And we were sad to lose her.
Yeah, I mean, we've had so Ashley Mormon-Fassio and her husband Carl are good friends of mine, and we've had Ash join us for a kind of morning walk. But again, it's a few. Why would she ride at 5:45? She's in Cape Town. She's got it's off season usually.
Yeah.
She rides with Carl at 10. I mean, there's no reason to come and,
for the banter, isn't it? Well, just to come and hurt some old.
I mean, also just riding with Lucy at that level. It's and also Ash is, she won't intentionally go out there to prove a point, but she doesn't have to try.
I don't want it.
And
she wanted to be listen, go.
Riding most people off her wheel. And it's actually, it's things like that I love about the kind of humility of a bike pro. And actually, hopefully, the humility of the guys that are trying to hold the wheel, which is that okay, this is the gap. This is the gap between a professional world tour level pro woman and the rest of us kind of, having a lot of fun, that actually it's not.
Our local elite females, I wouldn't have a snowball's chance. Yeah. Incredibly humbling sport. Hopefully there's more of those. And Cape Town does have this pool where you do tend to see, pretty special people come out here, and they'll almost always seek out a lot of people. I've heard the amount of times that day that LPC and everyone got together for that Tuesday morning ride, there was this almost sort of someone taking the piss, this British accent, first question is so what is this then? As we turn out from the show, I was you fucking with me? You know what this is, right? He's no idea. I've just come here, landed yesterday. Someone said come and join the Savage ride. And there's an LPC jersey, there's another guy, there's an ECC guy. I'm I don't have enough time to explain this to you, but I'm very fucking excited. We've been working for this moment forever. And like, just in a nutshell, these are 4 clubs that compete at the DC. Do you know what that is? No, I'm not going to have coffee after this. But like, just hang on, this is going to be one of the coolest rides of your life. Like, imagine that's your first ride ever touchdown in Cape Town, and it's those 4 groups merging, and that was just like epic ride.
It's nice to get caught up in it. I mean, and I think, like Pete says, for us, I think it's a consistency of it. I mean, it suits me to have although I now live in Nordvik, no longer live on the Atlantic Seaboard.
You got a lift now, no excuse.
Yeah, I've never got a good excuse. But it's 5:45 on a Tuesday, and you don't have to be part of the WhatsApp group. You don't actually have to rock up. You just rock up and hang on, or if you're feeling fresh, take the front and see what you can do and have some fun. You'll cost a bit more towards.
So, and with a lot of the crew having moved to the burbs now, there's sometimes a split off in Hout Bay again, where the others go over Constantia. But for all the years, we would have coffee at Bootleggers. It used to be in the early days of LPC. You would not know about this. You didn't live here. There was a shop in Sea Point called the Handlebar, started by Jason Lind from Olympic Cycles and our mate Nick Wright, who's a designer, and our other mate Drew was the barista / manager, and it was a cycling themed coffee shop in Sea Point with bikes on the walls, little bike shop as well with the coffee. And for 2 or 3 years until it closed its doors, that was our clubhouse. And we had coffee at the Handlebar every morning.
It's a coffee shop, and I've never heard it told like that.
And then subsequent to that, we would pull into the Bootleggers in Sea Point for coffee. And I think the guys still do. Instead of 10 people sitting there irritating everybody else, it's now 2 or 3 at a small table.
Well, that's why we did this. We want anyone that isn't a cyclist to feel you the problem, you the leper. It irks me to no level. When we used to stop somewhere in Kolkata, I won't mention where, every Tuesday, and there'd be between 8 to 20 people every Tuesday morning would stop there. It's like the most loyal customer you're ever going to have. And it's like you're there and you can hear people in earshot like, oh, fucking cyclists. Like, just like so unnecessary. Like, we're still just human beings. We just happen, but your bike's got to go there. It's like, Oaks, can't you make a plan, like a rack or something? So just so we aren't, because this is irritating for everyone else. Yeah, sure. No one does anything. It's just like, it's in front of a store and owner comes, move 3 bikes. It's just diabolical. It's like, let's create space for just runners and cyclists. 3 bike racks. This is what I was telling you guys. When you finish afterwards, because you turn left at this robot here, just go straight over.
No. I terminated with a pie and 3 cokes in Simonstown. I had to.
The dad was emotional. Wow.
It was a whole nother ride. I had a very different experience.
How was that heartburn?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was very, very much needed. I didn't chow before when I was 3.5 hours in, and he described it's a hard ride. And I'd like the lights battery when underswear. Yeah, I was crawling out.
Guys, DC expectations. Can we get some predictions out of you? So let's take ECC, Savage, LPC. Where do you think they stack up based on what you've seen?
I'm not in the mix in our DC team, unfortunately, again, but from Mother not being in the mix, ECC I know have lost a few soldiers. We've lost a couple now with crashes and injuries and are bolstering up. I think Savage, I don't actually know, but I'm assuming that their team is pretty solid and full. I think they've got the advantage just in terms of consistently full team, where we're scrambling a bit, having to fill up some slots due to injury and stuff, even though we've got Jasper and a mate. So it's going to be interesting. It's actually, and also ECC, depending how they can fill up their slightly depleted team, they've also got a knack of pulling some rabbits out the hat.
So if you're putting some money down, what's your guess? We're going to come back to this. What's your 1, 2, 3?
I'm going to say I'm going to back my boys and say LPC Pip Savage by a small margin, and ECC coming in on the tail end.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's what my heart says as well. My head if I was putting,
Depending how much money you were putting down.
look, I mean, I think it's that rivalry is, I think, also quite exciting because it comes from having three teams that have a level of parity. You know, yes, we might, import a pro rider or whatever it is, but in terms of consistency, I feel like we probably not as consistent as a group as we have been.
Just to be clear, we're not importing. We're not paying anyone. These guys are riding with us because they want to ride with us.
I'm going to edit that part out. I'm sticking to the importing. That's the rhetoric we've all come for.
So what we do is we offer a really extensive recreational package that includes wine tasting in the wine that's maybe a heli trip here or there. No money changes hands.
Did you buy Jasper Stuyven's house?
We might have bought him a house. Maybe, okay, bought him not.
Is that not a pity kit?
I would say I'm going to back the LPC, and I'd probably say similar to LPC, so but having said all of that, I actually have no idea who makes up any of the teams. So it's more a sort of reputation thing.
I think it's going to be all the teams on a very similar. I have a unique perspective having spent time with all of them, done these, which again, thank you for coming and doing. But everyone's kind of gone on this like back to basics, back to their roots, recruit from within. I mean, I'm sure it's public knowledge the last 2-3 years, it was very, very import heavy. Not really people we ride with every Tuesday there on race day in the pursuit of beating you and mother. It got quite competitive. This is just a member in the team. I don't have direction or pick things. So there's consistency for sure, but there's definitely about 3,000 watts of FTP missing if we compare the last 2 years. Based on Tuesday performances, ECC are head and shoulders faster than the rest. Their top 6 should destroy everyone else's, barring yours with 2 World Tour pros. My guess would be Brendan's going to murder me, but ECC, LPC, savage. We can cut that out. We can release it afterwards. That could also just be my way of motivating the savage.
What you're saying also is the DC has changed quite a bit over the years with and you focusing on the top 6, which is obviously where the time stops. And it's changed. It's much more doable now with the 2 pit stops where whoever else is a helper can get shelled and come back to help again in the next segment. And then in the last segment, it's all about the 6. Where my first few DCs was a 1-shot time trial, start to finish. Time starts and time stops.
I know it's even feeling on.
And that changes the game. So whether you got 6 strong guys, it's safety. Everybody had a following car. It was chaos. Cars passing big groups. So it was out of necessity, roadworks, but mostly.
No, you haven't done the last one, and
I think that I have done a few with the stops, and it's obviously it's safer and it's better, but it does change the dynamic a lot. The tactics are completely different. You're having to, and being able to burn 3 or 4 guys with 10Ks to go, knowing that they're going to be there again when you leave, which is if you burn guys in the old way, they're gone forever.
I've got Malaysia next week, and I'm going to try and really strongly motivate for a KOTAS podium because it is probably the strongest. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw the bicycling article last year.
Yes.
Like, don't you find it interesting? The story that is covered editorially for DC is KOTAS. And I believe there is another one brewing this year. And again, like it's such a, people are so bought into it. People that aren't even in the teams are like, they love the meme account. And I find that there's a certain banter responsibility we now hold.
We're talking about that. We're a month out. Account's been a bit quiet. I wonder.
It leads me to speculate. My most recent speculation is that it's Brendan Stevens. He makes the most sense in terms of who it might be and the stuff that he knows. And every time I accuse him, he has this like look on his face that I've only seen before in people that were lying to me. That
All right. Well, I mean, if it's him or
antagonized Drew quite as extensively as he was last year. It is the only thing that makes me think it's not him. Yeah, they're part of the same team that year. So I don't.
All right. But anyway, that needs to. I don't know who's been away. It needs to. It's a month out. It needs to spice up.
Chris Bros is in Afghanistan, that's all I'd say. He's for an undercover agent from the LPC. Although, mind you, what about you out there? The response rate of the LPC is unlikely to be any of us.
Or how likely? Based on the lack of design skills, you guys are definitely there as potential contenders. That dude actually be the most hilarious words you want to do. Guys, I think that's more than I could have hoped to cover. I hope we get a Jasper Banter. So we are trying closer to the time, especially if he's going to be in time. Please let me know. To get a pre-DC thrash together Saturday, we'll communicate the day. Meet, go into a ride, fuck each other up.
Finish, yeah.
Have a coffee afterwards at the same place for the first time ever. That's my favorite part of DC. The end is the only time you see all those crews together having a beer. It's like, it's such a tragedy. It doesn't happen more often. To me, at least.
Yeah. If it doesn't happen before DC, let's fire it up in the new year. You know, get the spring season or the late summer season going.
World Champs is on in March, and then you'll be able to come and compete.
Yeah, we do a Peter my long-suffering chaperone for my dad. He's 79, maybe 79 next year. And I've made a commitment to not race the DC, the suck turn until he doesn't ride it again. As he's been riding it. I think he's at T5 or something. Very cool. And the last 4
or 5 years, we've rolled.
Go back, just cruise around.
Best bird does
4.5 hour ride. It's awesome. Proper bar, yeah. But you know, if there's a reason to go fast, I don't need much invitation to try and get quick.
There was a lekker dance with Mo there last year. They're so strong. But like 100Ks are tough to beat. So we will set that up. We will do that. Best of luck. You're doing 100?
Yeah, 100K for the 8th time.
I can't wrap my head around that. I'd love to do a separate podcast on that entirely to try and understand how the fuck you run 100 kilometers. That is monstrous. Good luck with that.
Yeah, thanks.
If we get any tennis coaching inquiries, we'll send them your way. Now that we've provided a massive platform for your coaching business.
All right.
Nick, thanks to both of you for coming through. Shane, I hope we do lots more together. Like I said, everything we have is at your disposal. If you want to use it for whatever, call other people in there, banter with them, shoot some stuff, please go all.
Pleasure. Thanks to you for keeping the stoke of the Cape Town cycling scene fueled and fired up. It's an awesome vibe to be a part of, and it's great that you have all these characters and guys like you highlighting it.
It's an absolute pleasure. Appreciate that.
Thanks so much for inviting us along. This is the most airtime LPC has ever had on any format. It's a new era. Yeah, I don't need. We might have to draft some younger guys in to figure out what our Instagram password was or is. And as soon as we figure it out, we promise we'll
just get one of those Mother Oaks in.
We'll start getting the banter going again.
Swiss Army knife for Instagram. Just get any one of them in and they'll sort it out. Backer guys. See ya.
Cheers.